$40 plus. We have the landscaping is $270. Now, something I wanted to mention because just to make people aware, I know Dawn is, but others of us, the thing that probably varies the most here is the water bill. So we had a leak this last month, and so normally it'd be about $600 for the water, drainage, sewer, that stuff. It was $1,200. So just I say that so that ones that are here, if you see something, then you can mention it to Chris, and she'll let whoever, one of us know, because it's something that the sooner we can catch it, the definitely the money we can save. That's all I have. Any questions? Oh. Yep. You bet.
Okay. And Sierra, do you have the slides to put up? If you can't find them real quick on there, I've got the flash drive with them on here. Anyway, why don't you take that back too? What's that? Oh, okay. We went over the finance team goes over and does the budget, proposed budget each year, and we went over what we had in for last year, and I talked to Robert, and he said there were only 3 changes needed to be made to the budget as far as he was concerned. They're now paying the CCLI license and the web hosting software bills now are being paid out of media instead of out of office supplies, so we need to move roughly $1,000 from one account to the other. And our maintenance and repairs bills have been going up, and so he suggested that we add a little over $800 a year in to the maintenance costs. And so the budget is basically the same as this past year with that one addition. So it went up, our forecast is going up by 0.75%. So it's almost the same. And they're still getting that warmed up. That was the first slide, was going to show you actually the last 3 years plus the proposed budget. This is just budgets compared each year. Last year, well, the one that ended in June of 2019, actually we came out ahead. It came out on the plus side slightly, and so we had increased the budget to allow for some changes made. We are a little bit below, but in a minute I'll talk about what those changes amount to. And you'll also see, if you need copies, pastor's passing them out. Okay, the second one is just the proposed budget broken down in a different way. Different people have different ways to look at things, and so this is trying to give you a scenario that you can look at in a different way. And it shows each one, and what this does is explain the various things that are paid for out of that particular fund, so that you can see how the money's being allocated. The third slide, which is the one that didn't get put in your handout, and I'm hoping that this hurries up and gets up there, because the third slide is a pie chart I was asked to put together. And you see this? Okay. I'll give it a second to get the pie chart up there. Okay, the second item down, proposed budget. See the, what's that? Oh, the mouse isn't moving. Oh, okay. Anyway, the largest one, Robert mentioned a few minutes ago, that our biggest item is the subsidy for Tualatin Valley, and that's the big orange section that takes up almost half of the pie chart. Just so you know, the items on the budget, which would be utility and maintenance, are the next two biggest ones. So I was hoping to have that up so you could have a better idea, because I have the percentages showing on that one as well of how much each one is. And the last one I had compares the last 3 years to give you an idea. We aren't making budget this year. We're underneath. However, some people give directly to a specific fund. I'll just use one as an example, the tuition assistance. They realize that we pay several $1,000s a year for tuition assistance to Tualatin Valley. This is in addition to the subsidy, by the way. This is to help individual families with students where the family's income is too low, and we try to help with that. And the amount that they give there makes a difference, because right now the combined budget only has $20 a month. That's $240 a year for, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Troy. I forget about putting this up here because I'm trying to talk about this too. $240 doesn't even start to touch. 3 years ago, we actually paid Tualatin Valley for tuition assistance for a number of students over $17,000. The 240 in the combined budget barely even makes a dent in that at all. And so those extra funds don't show up under combined budget. So when Robert's combined budget numbers show that we're not quite there, by the time we get all the monies that are donated toward specific funds, we're usually in excess of the budget. And so we're not too worried about it, or the money is coming in. It's just, we just have to watch the allocations of it. Some other things that the finance team function does is we monitor requests for funds. And a while back we made a presentation to the board to get that defined. Normal expenses, and this is part of the proposal to the board that was passed. Normal expenses that do not exceed current fund balances and are under $175 can be given directly to Treasury. You don't have to go to the board with them. Normal expenses that will exceed current fund balances or $175 need to be written up and passed to the finance team for approval first. Extraordinary expenses always need to be written up and passed to the finance team. All items brought to the finance team will be discussed and forwarded on to the board. If the timing is too short, at the pastor's discretion, we can do a email vote on things. So we do have means of getting things quickly if we need to. And also, if there's something that comes up that the board feels there's an exception to it, they can discuss that exception and make a change to whatever it is. And then the following month, we passed one more resolution that fit with that. Recommend that even a request that exceeds the $175, if the funds already are in the account and the finance team approves unanimously the spending of it, it does not need to go to the board. It can be taken care of immediately. And most requests that we get are normal. We don't have a problem with them. They usually get passed right away by the finance team. Once in a while, we'll have a request that we either put limitations on or restrictions and say this has to be met before we can go with it. We've had a couple items we said, no, that's not something that the finance team feels is necessary right now. And in those cases, the person that submitted it has chosen to withdraw it rather than even have it go to the board, knowing that it would be going with a negative recommendation. Other items, we've discussed honorarium for guest speakers, fundraising ideas for remodeling, things along that nature. So we have a number of different things that the finance team handles. And then we also have the tuition assistance I mentioned. And I just wanted to mention this year we had 0 requests, so we had $0 going out. Well, you know, the school, most of it was online. And so we haven't had any requests this year from anyone for help in that area. But we have had, several years have been 11, 12 students that needed help. So we do have that, and we have a form that they need to fill out, the parents, so that we know that it's truly needed. One of the problems we ran into a few years back is somebody came to us and they wanted 100% paid. And we said, we can't do that. Well, sure you can. Where I came from in Canada, they did it. We said, we don't care what's in Canada. In the U.S., if we started funding 100% for each student, that's called a temple plan, and the IRS has banned it. So we have to take each request in order to make sure that it's all handled correctly. Anyway, that's the new budget, and on that I need to ask for a show of hands those that approve of the budget. Now, there is one exception on that. On the budget, we don't get the information from Tualatin Valley on how much our subsidy is going to be for next year until usually the latter part of June. So when we vote in a new budget for next year, it's with the understanding that that number for Tualatin Valley may change. It's usually very slightly, maybe $40 or $50 a year, but it can change, and that we won't have that for another month yet. So I'll make a motion that the church accepts the new budget that we put together. Is there a second? Second, okay. All those in favor, can you raise your hands? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, Finance Committee is the pastor, Christine Iskandar, Jeremy Taves, and Kip Kipsang.
Hi, my name is Deb, and I am the president of Your Food Oasis. President really means thanks. I don't really see many of you, so I see lots of new faces. So in case you don't know, president really means glorified gopher. I do all the jobs nobody wants to do, and all the jobs that people don't like to do. We pick up food 6 days a week, and most of our food is 100% perishable. And so in the last couple of months, we started doing a trade with another organization for food that we want, such as the dry goods, the pastas, the canned goods, the things we normally don't get, in exchange for something that they want. So on a weekly basis, that food pretty much consists of the same type of staples. This week, however, we did get tea, which was different. Maybe it's nuts, but for the most part, it's the same kind of food. So in looking forward, what we anticipate is that we're going to be doing a canned food drive with the Beaverton Lions group as soon as COVID restrictions lift a little bit, which hopefully will bring in more food. different variety, and which in turn means that we can give more food to not just our folks, but hopefully all of you as well. We are, if I haven't said this, we are so grateful to be in this building and to be amongst all of you. We've had a little bit of a challenge the last few years getting a stable location, and so actually having a roof over our head, having an open communication with the pastor and many of you has been a real blessing for us. We do need to look at some additional appliances. We need to expand our refrigeration, maybe a commercial refrigerator. And what that would mean is the area on our left where we have all our refrigerators right now, the small chest freezer would be removed and we would put in a commercial refrigerator there. Other than that, I think that's it. Did anyone have any questions?
I have an interest, and I know I've talked to others too, about what is an item that we could maybe bring to donate? Because you talked about doing a food drive, but we at the church here too wouldn't mind contributing. What are the like canned food items that you have a need for that you're not getting currently?
Canned fruit would be a great item. Boy, that's an interesting topic. Just thinking of the items that we currently have, that the non-perishable stuff. You know, we get the peanut butter, the legumes, the flour. We actually don't get sugar, and we don't get spices. If you're going to grow vegetables in your garden this year, fresh vegetables is something we don't get a lot of. And when they do come in, it goes really fast. So that'd be something great to share. Okay. Okay. All right.
Before you bring that commercial refrigeration unit in, I'd like to have a spec on that. Wattage, electrical use. Huh? If you put it over there right now, you're gonna have a disaster.
We've had the electrician in a couple of different times early.
I am the electrician.
It really varies. We are open on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And so basically Tuesday is like the first it's like Monday for us. People know that since we're not open on Monday, and we pick up 6 days a week, the bulk of our food comes in on Monday and Tuesday. So more people come in on Tuesday than any other day of the week. So I would say on Monday we might see 40 people, and then it kind of trickles to maybe 15, 20 per day. If we just added Whole Foods, which we didn't have before, and we get Trader Joe's and on holidays and special events and when another group doesn't show up. And those type of stores bring in more people because it's a greater variety. We get more of the fruits and vegetables, more prepared meals. So I would say it on average is about 30 people a day. However, I was just told this week that this is probably true across the board, but seniors in particular who receive food stamps this month, their food stamps were cut by 60%. So one particular family came in to pick up food for themselves, and they asked for a box from their parents, and they said their parents were getting $105 a month, and now they're getting $40 a month. So we anticipate seeing more seniors coming in for food. One of my jobs is to be able to go to a number of schools and pass out our information and hopefully bring in some more people that way. I didn't realize that just down Century is a grade school, and then on the other side of TV Highway is a high school. So there's quite a few schools in the area that I could be talking to about bringing in more people. Food to other people? Yeah. You know, we have looked at that. We are relying on volunteers to do everything. To pick up our food, I personally drive and pick up food 6 days a week. 5 to 6 days, depending on if I work on a Sunday or not. So we are really strapped when it comes to distributing to other people. Yeah. We do have actually a member of your church. His name is Ron. Don't ask me his last name. He hasn't actually been attending for a while, he says, but he faithfully does go to one of the local high schools that is doing the farm to family boxes. And so he picks up a number of boxes. He does this on his own. He delivers to a number of seniors, and then he brings the food that people don't want in the box to us, or a couple of other boxes. And so he does it on his own. He's not associated with us, but that's his ministry of giving back. It would be great if there was a way that we could actually distribute to local people.
Well, and I'm talking about members of the church who have to take a box and bring it to.
I'm sorry?
Members of the church who want to take a box, and so you wouldn't have to deliver it. It would be members of the church delivering it to friends and families and neighbors.
You know, I actually brought that up at one point, and I was told that there is someone in the church, we think of hospitality maybe, that would incorporate some of our food into what they already do.
Okay.
But if there is an interest, then by all means, we would look into that.
So just a quick music team update. I'm sure most of you have heard the news by now. Just recently, over this last week alone, there's been some pretty big changes. My team has decided to step down, and this is not something that just, took us by surprise and came out of nowhere, but it's actually been a long time in the works. So, and the reasoning behind that was just to give people a chance to rest, and to also just to take a step back, to restructure and to revisit how we approach ministry. And I think this also opens up the floor to mentorship as well. So just wanted to let everyone know this is not a break from, this is not a stepping away from church at Crosspoint. We are still here, but more in a mentorship role behind the scenes and things like that. So just wanted to clear up any questions that people had about that, because this all just happened pretty recently, so I'm sure there's been a lot of questions out there. So, and moving forward, we are doing our best to invite as many people as possible to be a part of this. And not that it wasn't before, but we are looking to be more creative now. So if anyone, door's always open if you'd like to come talk to me. And if you have any ideas how to keep things lively here and creative, please let me know. Any questions out there? Okay, good talk, thanks. Any questions for real though? No? Okay.
Sorry, the slides weren't working. Turns out they were in PowerPoint, and our program is from before 2008, so it doesn't work with PowerPoint. So some more things we're working to update. This last year, though, we did build the thing, the whole platform, with the genius of Don and Richard to get that going. So we're kind of, Robert, can hear we can actually hear the sound back there. So can participate a little bit easier and actually see the stage, and so that's been very helpful. We also just got a projector in that'll be new because that one also shut off in the middle of me trying to load it. So Richard will be installing that soon. And then we just have a lot more volunteers that have joined up, especially a lot of young people, which is good. It's something that I know really helped me when I was younger, kind of stay involved in the church and find value in the church. So that's one of the goals that I have of trying to get younger people involved in serving, because then they feel like they have a place, they feel ownership over the church, and is somewhere that they can grow and learn new skills. So that's one of the things that I'm working on in media.
So I have the next two, but kind of by default, I say, because hospitality is not one person. It's been a big team. But during COVID, it sure has been different. And we haven't had our snacks for over a year. And I know people have missed that. But when we weren't even meeting, that was difficult. So anyway, we've had, Daryl and I kind of banded together and we said, well, we'll do once in a while, do surprise meals, provided meals. And we're getting back, though, into a little bit more regular provided meals. But at this point, we had our first meal where we ate here. So as you can see, the tables are spaced pretty good. And we had a good turnout. But that was our first. And our second one will be coming up, and that will be our dads and grads. And so we're going to aim for a barbecue coming up, and that will be June 19. And as far as potlucks, during COVID time, the restrictions still are in place, we aren't going to have regular potlucks. So the meals that we do have that we're sharing together are ones that we will be serving as a team. And we're going to be starting to expand our teams so that we have more people involved. And so anyway, but it's good. It's good to see so many more people coming. And it's nice to be able to stay and to visit also. Because I know I've missed that so much. So many of you I've missed. Even having a Friday night service and then one on Sabbath morning. I know that I wanted to come to both services because I saw different people on Friday night that I know on Sabbath. But not everyone had that pleasure of being able to go to both of them. So anyway, that's kind of where hospitality is. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now, but hopefully it can expand. And as far as children's ministries, that's been even more in a holding pattern. I talked to Sarah and I said, oh, it's good to see Sarah. We haven't spent much time together because we've just been so separated. And we've been separated from our children in a lot of ways. Let's see, back in November, I started a program with my children that was Zoom-based. And so every Sabbath morning at 9:30, we meet with the children that, signed up. A lot of families just didn't. Some of the families that I talked to, they said that, we are computer zoomed out. We have to do it all week. And to think of doing it on Sabbath morning one more time, they said, we don't want to, and totally understand that. We have between 7, 8 families that do come on Sabbath morning for the beginners one. And first time next week, we're going to be meeting at a park after church.
just so that they have a chance for the children to get together and do some socialization. Because some of the families, their children are young. They're not getting out and meeting other children, and they love that aspect that they're missing of not being able to meet for church. At this point, though, most of my families that I've talked to, and I don't know if Sarah's had a chance to connect with some of her class that she works with, they are still wanting to keep, they're still not ready to have the class start in here because we've talked about it and I've asked about it. So right now we'll continue with the Zoom. If you know of someone that is beginner age and that's, kind of up through 4, let me know. We have boxes. I know I talked about it one of our children's stories, but we're happy to include other people. We have a couple of families that come from other area churches that have joined the class. And anyway, so that's kind of what's happening in children's ministries. I'm hoping that this summer we will have a chance to maybe do some things involving outdoor, that we can make it family centered. And Troy and I have talked about that. And I know that I'd like to make it centered on the families. And maybe they'll be comfortable enough if we can meet outside that we can start including them because we miss them so much. So it's kind of a report, but it's a wait and see report.
As Heather said, I think one of the things that are most missing in our church right now are the kids. We just really miss them. So Heather and I have worked together, so we spent a lot of time talking about church when we're supposed to be working. But one of the ideas that we have come up with, and it's strictly an idea, it says report, but it's really an idea, is that if we could set up some kind of a program where there was some kind of nursery care during the church service. I know a lot of families are not anxious to have the responsibility or whatever it is of taking care of their children. They can't get much out of the service when they have little kids crawling all over them. So that's what we have come up with, an idea that maybe we can figure out a way. I've done a little research. We just talked about this last week, so it's all very new and the ideas are. And to find out from other churches what they're doing and how they're doing it. And so we'll just continue going forward and see where we go with this. What was the idea? What we would do is have a room set aside that we would actually have child care there during the church service. That's what we're looking for to start off with. But we need to get these kids back.
Hello. So listening to the budget report, I thought that I might add a little bit of information about TVA subsidy and what it's used for at the school. And then give you an update about kind of some plans happening at TVA. So church and conference subsidies cover the operational expenses of the school. So the main, foundational, like the office management, like all that kind of thing, where tuition and fees cover things like the staff salaries and materials, and the things that are more based on student enrollment. So just like that foundational, this is just what we need to actually have a school open, that's what church subsidies and conference subsidies cover, whereas the per student fees are what cover the staffing for those students and things like that. Adventist families currently receive a $1,700 discount on tuition because the churches are supporting the school. This year, we started in full distance learning. We ended last year in full distance learning. We started this year in full distance learning. By October, we had 2 hours a day that students were in the building with their teachers. By January, students were full-time with their teachers at school. And we currently have 140 students enrolled, primarily in person. We do have a few students per class that are joining on Zoom. And so there was some additional materials that had to be purchased this year in order to support that, so that we had cameras and whatnot so that the teachers could stay connected with students at home while they're also teaching in the classroom. We already have 150 students enrolled for next year. So we are already up from what we are currently. We usually add students throughout the summer and into the fall. And just to connect it to kind of what's happening at Crosspoint, we have 14 Crosspoint students from 8 Crosspoint families currently attending TVA. We did have several Crosspoint families choose to keep their students home and just do homeschool throughout the school year. That's not why I'm here, though. Why I'm here is to tell you kind of about some plans that are happening at TVA. For those of you who have been in this area for a long time, you know that for the past 20 years, TVA has been working towards becoming a K-12 school. And we are currently a K-10 school. We're accredited through 10th grade. And what we're finding is that our community doesn't want a junior high experience. They don't want the junior academy experience where they go one place for 2 years and then go somewhere else for 2 years. And so one might think that that results in a lot more students going to PAA, and we're just not finding that to be true. The commute is ridiculous, and the inconvenience on families is huge. And so we're finding that our families are not choosing Adventist education. And since the junior academy experience is not what they're looking for, there has been an additional push in the last few years to figure out how we can become a full K-12 school. And this, like I said, it's been talked about for so long. I mean, as you know, we went from Tualatin Valley Junior Academy to Tualatin Valley Academy, dropping the junior name. I don't know, has it been 15 years now that happened? No, it's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah. I know, it feels like just yesterday. It's been a while. It was before I started working there, and I've been there for 7 years. They also built the second building, which includes a full high school science lab in preparation for this shift. But we've just never gotten there. So we've been, as I mentioned, we've been working hard and trying to figure out how to make this a reality and what it would take to make it a reality. And just last week, the school's finance team met and created a draft budget showing that it is financially feasible to support a K-12 program through tuition and the existing conference and church subsidy structure. So while support of the churches is vital in the success of our schools, I mean, you saw the pie chart, the proposed budget does not rely on significant changes in church subsidy to support a K-12 program. So the final step to becoming a 12th grade school is to start the accreditation process. We can't have students if we're not allowed to actually teach them. So at our next school board meeting, there's going to be a vote regarding whether to apply this fall in preparation for a 2023 11th grade start date. And we've been working towards this so long, and so I'm not expecting any surprises. I'm not expecting a no vote. So assuming the school board votes to move forward, more details will be brought to the church board meeting in June. Put us on your agenda. And then there will also be a vote at the next constituency meeting as well, the whole school constituency meeting. So I think that's all my things. Any questions for me about that? Yes. Correct. So if we start the accreditation process this fall, it takes the process takes 2 years. And so we would be, the goal would be that people know that that's the direction we're going, which would help us to draw the 9th and 10th graders that would then become the 11th graders
once that process is complete. Any other questions? Currently none. Pardon? Currently none. We had 9 students last year, and they wanted to stay with us as 11th graders, but we're not accredited for them. And every time we lose students, it has kind of a demoralizing effect on the whole student body, if that makes sense. Like they see their colleagues that they look up to starting to make different school choices, and it makes them feel like TVA is not the place to be because those people are leaving, even though those people didn't want to leave. So I think the other piece of it was that students did not want to have distance learning again. And of course, we all ended up in distance learning anyway. And so there was not the interest this year. And part of that being obviously the distance learning, part of it being the people moving on, and part of it being, well, we don't want a junior academy experience. So the hope is, as we're having conversations with our upcoming families, who have told us we only want a 4-year experience, that once we can say, we can offer you a 4-year experience, that we'll be able to rebuild from there. We have students who are waiting to hear the results. We currently have 2 enrolled. And financially, we can run the program with at least 6. So, any other questions for me? Okay.
I was asked to say a little something about the elders. We have some topics that we discuss that, of course, you understand. They get very specific between the elders, and we can't bring them up here, what we're talking about. But we are taking on some other roles. It came to light that the placement team at times does not know exactly what role some of these positions entail, and they would like a more detailed description of each role. And so the elders are going to be taking on the role of putting written descriptions for various offices. One of the first ones that they asked for was the deaconesses, and so we'll start putting those together and providing those to the nominating committee so that they have a better understanding of what the church is looking for in filling those roles. So that's one thing I can tell you that the elders are going to be working on. The other thing I need to talk to you about is volunteer background checks. And this morning, this is all new even to me. I just got an email this past week from the conference person, who happens to be our own Mackenzie, that, what's that? Oh, no. No, that they're coming up with a new online system. It's been out there for 7 years. Other conferences are already using it. The Oregon Conference is going to start using it right away. And this morning from 10 to 11, I was, and I know Chris was there as well. The two of us were getting trained in this new system. And then they're going to be sending us our own passwords tomorrow, and so we can get on and try it first. Then those that want to do background checks, they can get on, put their information in, and there's a required now. It used to be you had to go to an all-day session that they put on every time you had to renew every 3 years. And now it's a 30-minute slide presentation that you can view online at your own leisure. You're given, from the time you first get into the system, you've got 30 days to get through with the 30 minutes of slides and check off that you're ready for the background check. But she said really the whole thing, signing in your stuff and watching the video and everything, should only take about 40 minutes, which is far better than taking an all-day session over at the campgrounds for a conference presentation. And so that's going to be coming up here. I'll be contacting you. Now, they did say that there were ways that those that are already approved, and they're going to get us more information on that, on how we can get you into the system without you having to go back online. But it may require us to give you one 30-minute presentation here at the church, so you all have been through the training that they're now doing. So those that already have your volunteer status, we'll be working with you on that. I'll be sending something out as soon as we have word from the conference on that. But I was very interested. They gave us a list of offices that definitely have to have background checks. And the very first one they gave me, I expected to see down maybe 4th or 5th or 6th on the list. The one that they said is the most important is greeters. Then they, of course, said elders, deacons, and deaconesses. And then they said anyone else that works with children. And then they listed a whole number of things off. Children's division, in other words, all the Sabbath school teachers, those that are working with the youth, vacation Bible school workers, pathfinders, adventurers, TVA representatives, those that work with media, if there's any children involved with media at all, and we do have some that have been helping in the past and will be back. I know they'll be here. The same with music. If any children, everybody in music. Snack time, we have some people that have kids come in and help some with putting the snack time together. Then that means that anybody working with snack time has to have background checks. Okay? Same with the potlucks, planned meals. If children are involved in helping in any way with any part of it, you need background checks. Some churches have taken the stance every member of the church has to have a background check. We haven't done that here yet. But they were saying that some churches are doing that. Those that are worried about the background checks, first of all, when they go out for information, and this is a company that handles this now for the conference, they go out and receive the information from certain sites, but they never provide information. If people are worried about it, in fact, someone even asked the question this morning, what if we have an alien that's attending our church and wants to help out? They said, we don't look at that. If they've got a police record, that's different. But if they're just an alien in the country and they're doing everything else correct, it's never going to appear anywhere. So, and none of this goes back out to any other sites. But the places that they go to, the nationwide database, which covers anything that's happening on that scene, the Department of Justice records for any police records, and also they check the local current county records for whatever county your church is in. So those are the things that they do check. There are also 2 levels of background check that are made. One is for employees, such as the pastors and teachers, and that's a very extensive one. The other one is just for volunteers, and it doesn't matter whether you're a greeter or a Sabbath school teacher or help with music, whatever. The background checks are the same for every position in the church. Okay, so that's what's going to be going on. And they also have said this system, a person can go in anytime that they need to and check and see where they are in the process once they've applied to see when they are approved. Because we've been told they're not supposed to be, people are not supposed to work in the church until they have been approved by the system. So if you have somebody that says, oh, I want to start working with VBS next summer, they need to get their paperwork done now so that when the summer comes and it's time for VBS, they've been approved for it. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's usually about a 2-month process. And so until somebody has gone through that and been approved, they're not supposed to be involved in anything in that area that they're approved at. And also, in addition, if you do 2 different things at the church, you can mark both of those. If you do something here and something at TVA, you can mark it that way. And so all those things are covered by the system. I will know more about it, and I will pass that on when the time is appropriate.
Thank you, Dick. All right, so a quick little youth and young adult ministry report. Well, we did, like everybody else, pause our Sabbath school groups, our youth groups, but we, along with youth and young adult, including the children, are trying to revamp and resurrect every aspect of ministry to young people. And so I've already contacted a couple of leaders, one of which is hoping to start a youth group. We expect it to be kind of a slow-growing group, considering that we have had a lot of transplanted high school families to other communities and to other groups. And so we're trying to rebuild this youth group, and I've also talked to the Martinezes, and they are interested in restarting their teen class as well. I was working personally with the young adult groups, leading a Sabbath school class on Sabbaths. I'm going to be shifting gears just a little bit. Our young adult community was that one community that had enough autonomy to still get together somewhat without the responsibilities of children. So our young adult community has kind of taken off and become its own organism. And so I'm shifting gears personally into supporting new believers. And so I'm looking at starting a class on, like, a new believers class to help encourage and disciple people that are just getting integrated into our church. So that will be the shift. The other side note with young adult ministry is we were on this journey called the Growing Young Learning Journey, which kind of also was halted over the COVID experience. So when we're back to fully functioning as a live church, we hope to get back on that and bring leaders into that process to learn how to be a more growing young oriented community. So that's kind of what is happening with youth and young adults right now. I think that next on the agenda, we have Christina Iskander coming to talk about some placement. I also wanted to add to the end of the elders report, we have had a little bit of turnover with our elders. Recently, Sam Munyanamutsa has stepped down. He's been dealing with a lot of extra personal relationship stuff in his own life that he needs some more time with. And then we had Jerry King, who stepped down and also has recently moved to California. So we are down 2 elders, and placement committee is helping us to nominate and replace. And we're hoping to bring in a good diversity in our eldership team with young and old and different ethnicities, different genders, just to make our elders team really well-rounded. So Christina's going to talk a little bit about placement committee and everything that they've been up to recently.
So I hope that I can do justice because Christina Lackey is so much more qualified, but she's done a lot of work, and I want to thank her for that. So explanation of what placement ministry team is and does. We're essentially the recruitment agency of Crosspoint. If there's a need or if leaders from different ministries have a need in terms of people, then they would come to us and ask that who do you think, to ask people to volunteer. So that's essentially what we do. And of course, this is not an all-inclusive in terms of like, if, somebody is interested in serving in the media, they can, of course, go directly to media. They don't have to go through us. Our role is to seek out and ask and look around and see who would be qualified. The current members are, so Christina Lackey is our lead, and then not underneath her, but Me and Sarah Back and Denise Longcar are 3 additional members. And so Sarah Back and Denise Longcar are transitioning out this year, as well as Christina Lackey the end of this year. So we need to recruit new members. And I believe that there's a quorum that needs to be met. 5, including the pastor. So I have volunteers to stay on for another year. So we need 3 additional, is that correct? Yeah, we need to vote in 3 additional members. So placement ministry is not something that the board, right, voted in, and it has to, the members have to suggest. So just FYI there. So do we,
So at a business meeting annually, the congregation at large nominates new placement committee members, and those new nominated members become the new committee. And so because we're losing Christina Lackey, Sarah Beck, and Denise, we need to nominate new placement committee representatives. Placement committee, like she said, it's a parallel form of the nominating committee. It's our own version of how we choose leaders and put them into different roles in the church. And so at this meeting, we need to go through a nominating process. So I don't know the best way to do this. I would love for us to maybe consider this for a few minutes while we're talking about other things, and then maybe towards the end of our business meeting, we can put forth some names for recommendation and then vote to take that to the next step and invite those people to serve on the committee. So we'll do that at the end of our business meeting. And so consider some names, and then at the end we'll bring those up for consideration. Thank you, Christina. Okay, I'm up last, and then we're going to have some Q&A to open up any question. Our Q&A session is going to be a ask anything kind of deal. Ask anything about ideas, events, things that we're trying to plan. You can also offer ideas. We as a church value your input more than just us inventing things all the time that may not actually meet your interests. So it's also an opportunity to share feedback with us. But a few last things for me to report. So as I mentioned, my vision is shifting towards how do we re-engage these families and kids. And in efforts to do that, we're thinking about how do we roll out our children's ministry and what we can do to reach kids and their families. And so in working with some other churches and finding out some of the things that they're doing, right now our biggest challenge has been finding people to serve in the roles as teachers and as ministry leaders in those given areas. And so the plan is tentatively at this point to roll it out in stages where we're not going to just have Sabbath school every week right away. What we need is consistency in people coming back to church and feeling like they want to be there and when they want to serve there. So the plan is to start rolling it out incrementally. And so the hope is that maybe starting in June, we're going to start with 2 Sabbaths out of the month where we offer some things, programming, Sabbath schools for children. And then as we get more frequently regular engagement from those families and kids, that we can escalate that back when we have a bigger, more bolstered volunteer force. So that's our big priority. We're also, like Heather said, interested in engaging families with alternative event style things like outdoor worship. We're thinking about having a few events where we open up the garage door and have a lawn service so that families can come and they don't have to feel as cloistered inside the building, and they could take their masks off and things like that. And so our summer programming is going to be shifting towards engaging these families specifically. And if you have ideas on how to do that better than I would, then I definitely welcome that feedback. But be praying, church, that we can have a volunteer force that really cares about ministering to our kids and providing spaces for them to learn about Jesus and grow in Christ and grow in their relationships with other people. So with that said, I want to open you this time up to question and answer and feedback time, and I'd like to hear from you guys. What are things that have been percolating over this last hour or for the last month or the last year that you'd like to ask us or share with us? Yeah, Robert.
So some things outside, restriping, cleaning outside the building, general maintenance things, that's something.
Okay. So you want to just have a conversation about that?
Well, I just want to throw it out so people can kind of.
Oh, okay, okay.
Sometime during the summer,
Yeah.
we need to figure out a week, Sunday or something.
Okay. Organize the outside better. Okay. Yeah.
You have to hire someone to restripe the,
Yeah.
Cause I noticed, I went to park and I was like, I can't see the walls.
Okay. All right, let's take some notes here. Restriping. Okay. So signage for like where the church is? Okay.
Some of that is restricted by, CCRs on the industrial park.
Okay. Like I think what we can definitely do is like the little portable signs that we put out and move. Like those can definitely be updated. But what he's referring to is there's restrictions by the Business Owners Association on size and style of what we could put on the building. So that's what we have to question. Like A-frame signs? Okay.
Bonnie, didn't you do some checking a few years back about signage? Yeah, I think Dr. Rose and Dawn too. A permanent sign where west side is, where we come in. Did you talk to them about that, going together with the west side?
I think we talked about it. I'm not real sure where the Roseway Industrial Park has blocks set up for business signage. I do think we need to have the sign on the awning redone.
Yeah.
We do have a sign out there on the east sidewalk where the trash cans are at
Mm-hmm.
that maybe we need to look at updating.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the A-frames that we could put our name on. The biggest problem there is the responsibility of taking them out and bringing them back.
Okay.
The other issue is that with signs, you have to pass city ordinances, and they're pretty restrictive around here.
You know, the signs that I'm talking about, we would
I know
take.
what you're talking about, but yeah, I'm just saying for on the building, you might want to look into that before you guys decide to make any choices.
So
Crosspoint written outside on the building, up there above the eaves here, there's a spot there, because when you come from that way, you would see it big time.
so you're talking about on the
On our building, Yeah, the awning is so hard to see. Well, it isn't if you're coming from my direction, when you're looking this way, you would
Bonnie, I'm just going to tell you going in, that won't pass the city codes. Okay?
so it's within a certain size. So they require us to be under a certain size.
So we'll determine where you can locate it, okay? You'll have
So
to present a proposal to them, and they get to make that call.
but it's definitely possible to talk to them about what we can do.
As you can tell, this conversation has been happening when we first purchased the building. And we wanted to put signs across in front of the building. We wanted to have signs in the ground
So if we get a bigger awning, does that maybe get a bigger sign?
I don't remember all the details, but I remember that's why we don't have any kind of larger signage.
Okay.
It's based on the square footage of buildability of visual development. So yeah, bigger is not a bad idea, but they're gonna base it off the building size too.
Is that only? I don't know if you know, but is that only for signs on the building, or if it's a?
That includes that they call that area signage is what they call it.
Okay. Okay. We can talk to the BOA and see if they've changed at all on that.
The only way we can get around with it is if we re-landscape and brought in and sculptured some shrubbery or something that said Crosspoint. That finished church, CAC. That would be one way of getting around that, because that would be landscaping.
You need to understand, we're a cul-de-sac, so putting it out on the road out here, short of something like he's talking about, the A-frame, probably is not going to fly. You may, depending on how the city's willing to work with you, may be able to put something on the corner out here instead of just that, but they would probably limit the size.
Okay.
What about like a temporary, like what about just on the day on?
Yeah, we could do that one. Yeah. No one would walk them out? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Any other questions?
I do think the sign on the awning needs to be done right away.
Yeah, I agree. It's looking ratty.
4 years old or 5, and it's showing signs of wear and tear.
Okay. Well, we have a neighbor that does signs. Bob. We'll ask Bob. Oh, is it? Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, Myrna. Oh, yeah. So Matt's violin is just about finished with the repair. They have some minor things to finish, but he actually emailed me last week to say, to ask if we would submit payment to the repair shop. So yeah, we're there, and he'll have it within the next 2 weeks. Kind of. We're very close. So I think Matt got some funds from his family and got some funds from other people. And then I think cumulatively I have a number that's probably different than Robert's, because I know people gave to different funds, but for that purpose, and it wasn't all channeled to the same place. So I have, I think, around $900 that I know people texted me. That's what they gave. And then I know people donated, and Robert was putting them in a different fund as well. So I'm assuming it's somewhere around $11 or $12 or $1,300. Oh, that's what you were. Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Well, you'll have to tell me how much you donated so I can move it over to that. Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. I just thought people liked me. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you told me. Okay, good to know. So yeah, it's somewhere in the low, I think in $1,100 to $1,300 range is what's been given, and the total repair is around $4,000. So we nearly matched whatever his family had given, and yeah, it's beautiful. Good question. Any other questions out there?
I guess the one comment I would make love us to explore maybe getting some kind of a shelter shade going out from our garage doors, especially in the summertime, so that it would be more useful to actually even during services or during meal times to be able to eat outside and have a little bit of shade. So anyway, not sure what it's going to look like, but I'm bringing it up so we can start brainstorming and thinking about maybe what would work, whether it's just a temporary, I don't know, I'd love, but
Because it's an overhead door, you don't really want to block it, but what you might want to think about is off to the side there, they have those like the travel trailers use, the roll-out canopies that can be mounted to the side and probably structurally hold them.
yeah. Well, and that's what the thing is, I wouldn't want to block, I absolutely love that door. So that would not be my intent at all. But anyway, I just thought it'd be something that,
Yeah, yeah. So years ago, I don't know how many years ago, there was entire designs made to restructure that side of the building for a new entryway instead of the current small entryway. And what Heather's proposing is a more cost-effective, functional change to the structure of the building that would help people be able to use that space more for church activities and things like that. So yeah, we're going to be exploring those options and tapping into the people who have the expertise in those design areas. Yeah, thanks, Heather. Definitely building code approval. If it's a permanently attached fixture, like if it's another type of awning type thing, yeah, we'd have to get code approval for that stuff. If it's a permanent thing, yeah. And I'm not sure. We probably need to find out if there's specific code enforcement even for non-permanent things. Yeah, because I think it depends on size and stuff as well. Yeah, I do know. So the opportunity for Sabbath school class is completely open now. There are no limitations. We don't have to have hourly gaps between services and Sabbath schools or anything like that. And so there are some classes that have started. I know you guys' class has been going for a little while. Carol's class is starting July 1 again. And then Barbara and David, I think they're restarting their class. Krista Taves and Jeremy Taves, their class has been running the whole time, but it's online. It's on Zoom. Oh, was she? Okay. So, yeah, there are plans for many people to resume their classes in the building. Thanks, Gordon. But, yeah, the opportunity is there. And so we're kind of just waiting for the people to say, we're ready. We're ready to come back. Yeah, Gordon. What's that? Oh, yes, Gordon's class has been online the whole time. Oh. Oh, you had in-person people. Okay, great. Great. Oh, awesome. Awesome. That's good to hear. I don't know about you guys. I feel like things are, I don't like the word normalizing, but I think that people are re-engaging. I feel a sense of re-engagement, and we're hoping to play and build on that momentum. Yeah. Yeah, that's a real sticky subject because there's a lot of different information coming out with masks. I think the Oregon State Health Authority is fluctuating right now between so the general consensus is that we're not going to have to wear masks if you're vaccinated. But then you have the question of, okay, well, how do you monitor vaccinated versus unvaccinated in a corporate setting? And it's a real mess because there's also health privacy and HIPAA, and so it's in a church situation. I don't know how I'm going to address this or how we're going to deal with this when it comes to us. But in a church situation, it is going to be a very challenging ordeal to require like vaccination cards or something like that for entry. Yeah, the conference is probably already working on specific guidance for us on that. Oh, your vaccination information? Oh, okay. So the to address the mask thing, vaccinated people will not be required to wear masks as of this point in the health authorities' advisement. Yeah. 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 So my approach, and I mean, it will be in consultation with other leadership here, but my approach is that we have to do things in a uniform way. We're not going to just like bias certain people above or below other people. We're probably going to either do all masks or no masks and move in that pace when we get the advisement coming forward. Currently. You're talking about currently. Yeah, okay. But we are. So you shouldn't get fined yet. Well, I'm not. You're right. It's hard to talk without. We're outdoors. There's a window open somewhere. It's one of those new, Invisimask. Virtual mask. All right, any other questions? Okay. Well, with that, we are going to take some recommendations for those placement committee names. We need 3 names, and those names will be those nominations that we bring to those individuals. And if they say no, then we'll have to take it back to another vote, which we'll probably do during just the church service sometime. But if you have any recommendations for somebody who you think would be a good chooser of other people for ministry, I would love to hear those names. Okay, nomination for Bonnie Alexander. Okay. It's a great recommendation. So we have our first one. She's nodding yes. She's nodding no. Are there any other nominations? Yeah. Yes. Well, that's a good point. We're not nominating people who are just here in attendance. We're nominating people at church at large. Okay. 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 Yeah. So, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that it would be easier to make nominations with a bigger audience, for one, a higher quorum, so maybe during a church service or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. The congregation. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What's Well, maybe this is something we bring before the whole church, that we're in a reselection of placement committee leaders, committee members, and we need to take votes during a church session. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they need notice. We wouldn't ask same day, yeah. 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 That would be.
I know, but that's always going to be, at least now you can start asking people, who is that person over there? See, and we'll help you with a name. Well, keep asking. You'll get to know more people that way.
Like you're saying, one of the reasons that Bonnie's so great is because she's so connected. Maybe the question we need to ask is ask everyone in the church to submit the name of the person that they know that is the most well connected.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Within their group or their social structure or whatever.
Yes, down in Texas.
Yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the issues we've had with church directories is that if one person's building the directory, it is a whole process of approaching people, possibly getting information, current information, pictures, everything for the whole congregation. And that's a big, big, big project. If there's an option of people submitting their own information into the directory, that might be a much simpler way to build a church directory. Mm-hmm. Well, I know that there's ways. I'll have to find out. Like Tabernacle, it has on their website, it's built in. There's a church directory portal, and you can log in and you can look through it and you can see people and you can find them, search them by, things, skills that they have, or it's usable like that. So there is a password with that. Yeah, there's a password. It's a login system. Yeah. I can check in and ask them about that, see how complicated it is. Yeah, but the paper versions, they get updated so often with transients and people leaving and coming. Yeah. Okay. Maybe there's an online version you can print out and turn into a paper version. Okay, we'll look into some kind of efficient church directory system. All right. Any other comments, questions?
You know,
Yep.
to bounce off of this, and I'll keep coming back to this because I don't know how many years we've kind of talked about this, but maybe it's featuring a family every week up front. And try to take them from different segments of the congregation. So that if someone is at least watching online, they're having a chance to, and obviously we're only going to be finding the people that are attending, but still, obviously, I'm hearing here that you're saying you see people here that you don't know.
Never met.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you...
No, I'm talking about, get them up front and ask, some questions. Just very simple, not in depth. It's
Like a get to know you type of thing.
to get to know you.
Yeah, that's part of the reason we did this series, actually, was to get people exposure to other people and say, hey, there's other people that you haven't met yet. But yeah, I like that idea of little get to know you sessions. Okay, any other thoughts? Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for all the feedback and for spending your Sunday night. I know it's a little disappointing that we didn't get more church body attendance than we got, but thank you all who are here for being here. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most people think Sunday night meeting and they're not jumping to their feet, but yes, it's the opportunity. So we're going to say a closing prayer to adjourn our meeting, and just want to thank you guys for your attendance tonight. God, Lord, we really care about this community, and we want to see it thrive. We want to see people build lifelong connections and mature in their relationships with each other and with you. And we pray that we continue to innovate in the right ways, and we continue to think about how to keep people pulled in, how to keep people engaged. Give us continued fervor in what we're doing, and when things get tiresome and we start to complain, remind us of how much you've gone to our benefit to keep us connected to you. So God, we pray that each one of us tonight gets home safely and has a good night's rest. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.